state. He was no spendthrift, it seems, when it comes to himself.
He wasn't living a modest lifestyle, Laura. He was enjoying his privileged position in Ukrainian society. And indeed, some of those images have been finding their way across social media and news websites all weekend long, news channels as well. And we got a chance to see the menagerie, the zoo, the manicured gardens,
he had his own zoo, didn't he? I think that's one of the more remarkable things.
Exactly. I think he also had a Japanese garden, a massive amount of cars. And then all of these details started emerging when anti-corruption journalists began investigating. For example, Lebanese cedar doors costing $64,000 each. Light fittings worth $100,000, and then bank transfers of multi-million-dollar bank transfers, and dollars apparently are not allowed in Ukraine. So all of this looks somewhat suspicious, to say the least, and perhaps even most worryingly, lists of anti-corruption journalists. And one such journalist, her name is Tetiana Chernovil, details of various cars connected to this journalist. And as it would happen, she was beaten up quite badly in December.
Yeah.
So, look, it was confirming people's worst suspicions.
Something of a blacklist.
A blacklist, indeed. And also, I think that those anti-corruption, or the corruption details surpassed even the most far-reaching suspicions of a lot of the opposition.
And his son was pretty wealthy as well, we're hearing as well.
That's right. And then, what's quite interesting too is I think people did get a little bit ahead of themselves with the photos that were going online. For example, this guy, he was a loyalist. His name is Klemenko, if I got that correctly. Mm-hmm. He was, I think, the tax minister, and various photos of him were found in his house, which was also looted. But you see, there were also fake photos doing the rounds as well.
Like gold sequin toilets. No, that's Kanye West.
That's not true.
That's not his.
Okay. It wasn't that bad.
Now, Russia today has been swift to condemn the new interim leaders, saying basically that they're thugs and they seized power in an armed mutiny, they're calling it. Now, everyone is quite worried about what Russia might do next, because they do have a lot of military and financial interest in Ukraine.
So exactly, and there have been a lot of articles over the weekend and even up to today looking at this big quandary for Russia and how they're going to approach it. Mary Dovesky, writing for the Financial Times, says the assumption is that Vladimir Putin and Moscow generally will do everything in their power, up to and probably including the use of force, to keep Ukraine in Russia's political and economic orbit. But look at all of the rebranding that went into Russia around the Sochi Games at a cost of maybe 50 billion euros, it is estimated. If there was an intervention of a military nature, or even perhaps a more restrained intervention, it would put Russia back to the position it was in just after the 2008 Georgia war at best. So some people saying, look, you know, he's gone to a lot of effort, Putin, generally, to rebrand Russia. So another blog that's interesting is the French journalist Pierre Broncion, writing here in English, looking at Vlad's options. Vlad back from Sochi, Vlad angry, Putin's post-Maidan options. And basically, he narrows it down to three possibilities, or three scenarios, without detailing all of them. The likelihood of him getting angry and being quite aggressive, about 5 out of 10. The likelihood of him of just accepting, cutting his losses, etc.
And losing face at home, let's not forget.
That's right. About 3 out of 10 for that. And actually, full-scale military intervention, he thinks that's unlikely, putting that at about a 1 out of 10.
So just fuming and getting angry, according
that's
to
right.
that journalist. Okay. Now the line from Moscow is always beware of the Westerners stirring up trouble and revolts in former Soviet states. And the Russians are seeing something of a conspiracy here, aren't they? Because there is trouble elsewhere. That's
right. Now, this is certainly a biased tweet. It's a pro-European east of Brussels Twitter handle. But they are pointing out one quote that has been making the rounds of Russian media. It is unprecedented that simultaneously 3 countries that are allies of Russia are being threatened by colour revolutions: Venezuela, Bosnia and the Bosnia and Serb Republic, and Ukraine. It is indeed worth pointing out.
Venezuela was never part of the Soviet Union.
That's right, and I think it's that, you know, I really think those three, the 3 situations in those 3 countries are quite distinct from each other. This isn't a case of Western meddling and CIA money and, you know, a colour revolution's highly unlikely. I think certainly in Bosnia, some people have been saying, oh, is there meddling in Venezuela? But look, they're all 3 very distinct issues.
All
countries.
stirred up to annoy Vladimir Putin.
That's right. Sure. That's right. I think a bit of egomania there. Right. Venezuela protests, and of course, just to point out that there are a lot of articles now on those 2 issues in Bosnia and in Venezuela. The fact that it's not just really Ukraine, and all eyes have been on Ukraine, though, of course.
Absolutely, unrest elsewhere as well. Finally, before you go. Algeria's president is still going.
Well, this is it. It's kind
President
of the opposite.
Bouteflika.
It's the opposite scenario here.
He's going for a 4th term. Now, how old is he?
He's 76 years of age, but in very poor health.
He's not doing too well, is he?
Now, what the Courrier International have done here is they have they've taken an article by Kamel Daoud, who is an editorial writer in Algeria, and he said, Bouteflika, the people are going to lynch you one day. What do you want us to do? Drag us into the ground, into the tomb along with you? Because he has, a lot of people have been saying, in very poor health.
He's been in power since the
months.
1990s, hasn't he?
That's right, and increasingly in poor health. So a lot of people are just extremely cynical about his ability to lead the country during another term.
Well, he says he's going for it. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, Algerian people might lynch him, according to Kamel Daoud.
All right. James, thank you very much.
Thanks, Laura.
James Creedon there with Media Watch. Now it's time for our focus report, and believe it or not,